Now, the word grifter has a bad connotation to it. It suggests that you make money out of being disingenuous, clickbaity, or preaching something you don't actually believe, because by preaching it, you make money. However, today we're going to be framing this a little bit differently for how we're going to put this tier list together. Even if you're the most noble and honourable person, if you make money or develop a personal brand by talking about politics, for today's video, you are a political grifter. And by that definition, I am a political grifter. And I've been grifting my way up to 10,000 subscribers, which we should hit by the release of this video or be very, very close to that number. So thank you very much. It's been amazing what we've managed to achieve in just under a year. Now we're going to be measuring this list on quite a few factors. These people's overall influence, their personal brand, their talent to communicate and grow an audience. Also, whether I can bear the thought of being in the same room as them, or could I even enjoy just sitting having a drink with them. All of these things will be taken into consideration. That allows me to make this whole system quite arbitrary and antiquated, so it allows me to kind of make excuses for all the inconsistencies you're about to see. And there are so many e-celeb political commentators out there. I believe we could probably make a series out of this, so let me know if there's anyone else you want to see in a following video, or if you want to make any adjustments to the list we're going to create today. And lastly, this video, for this tier list, we're going to cast quite a broad net across the political spectrum, so be prepared to see quite a lot of interesting characters. Sargon of Akkad. Now, I really enjoyed Sargon of Akkad back in 2014 during the whole Gamergate fiasco. Now check out this video if you want a pretty comprehensive breakdown of Gamergate and its consequences. And over time, as I became more red-pilled, I drifted away from Sargon. But in time, he has started to evoke similar ideas to me once again. And this shows a willingness to let your mind be changed, to evolve, to think critically and grow as a person. And so I do actually, these days, I do enjoy his takes. And he does seem to evoke a traditional, well-mannered, polite Englishman, something we're frankly missing in UK politics. Now never mind anything political, like UKIP, anything he touched has turned to ash. That aside, his media empire he's growing, the Lotus Eaters, seems to be doing pretty well, and does seem to be a great way for, new rising right-wing voices to get a platform. And I think that's a really good thing, because our right-wing news channel, GB News, it's still very heavily filtered, usually just bringing people on to rage bait as opposed to addressing real problems, and especially not actually addressing or having real solutions. I think we should start off strong here. I think Sargon is a A-tier political grifter. Well done. Destiny. Now, Destiny is a definite figure of the left. Obviously, we do not see eye to eye in politics. But you have to admit, he has risen to a very high level within the grifter sphere, which I applaud. Well done. But that's really where the respect ends, as he seems to be on a downward spiral with all of his degenerate open secrets becoming more and more exposed. And he's brought onto shows like Piers Morgan, not for his valuable insight, but because he is so divisive and hated that people just love to hate him. He's a great heel in wrestling terminology.
If it turns out to have been somebody with a leftist ideology who wanted to shut up Charlie Kirk, would you condemn that?
I won't condemn anything until the President of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
So you won't condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk until Donald Trump says something?
I'm a YouTuber, leftist and
And I must admit, I did get a good laugh out of him absolutely slam dunking Boogie 2988 on the whole faking cancer moment, which was great. But anyways, with my own way of measuring this list, I feel like he could be C tier, but my heart sinks putting him anything higher than D. I think looking to the future, of all the kind of left-wing political commentators, I think he will become the biggest lol cow of them all. So by that prediction, Destiny, D tier. Hassan, similar to Destiny, arguably equally as insufferable as Destiny. But think about it. If you had to pick a room, one room has Hassan, one room has Destiny, and you have to have a conversation with them. It would have to be insane to pick Destiny over Hassan, I think. So I think based purely on that, even though these people are quite similar in terms of their, lol cowness, I think Hassan should be C tier. His grift as well has been very successful, that is hard to deny. And just his whole image, he is representing and maintaining a sort of Chad-like energy because he's a gym bro as well. So I hate to say it, while I think Hassan could be B tier, but I think like Destiny, because he is going to become a huge lol cow, which he already kind of is, but more so in the future, we will place him in C tier. Jordan Peterson. So I think Jordan Peterson, if this was 2016, Peterson for me would be an easy A tier. But he has worked very hard over the last 10 years to reduce his standing in this tier list. At most, I would say B tier, maybe even C tier now. He has slowly but surely made himself more irrelevant as time has gone on, as I did argue this in my video critiquing him. All these videos I speak about will be in the description below. And I did make the argument that his psychology work, his lectures about these sort of topics, they are good, they are insightful, they make you think, and they are interesting to listen to. But we live in the age of the grifter, and his grift has met a very profitable but sad conclusion by joining the Daily Wire. If I'm feeling generous using my measurements on this list, I feel like he could be B tier now. But we'll put him in C tier unless anyone in the comments has a great argument for why he shouldn't be. Alex Jones. So is there a better example of a political grifter than Alex Jones? I think there should be an easy S tier. I have always been somewhat wary and unsure of Alex, but at the same time I do really like him. I think he's funny, he's very smart, he's super eccentric in a very compelling way, being very memeable. He's got so many edits and memes made from just his own broadcasts, and that in itself is proof that he's on another level compared to the other people on this list. He is a living legend. And if you think he is controlled opposition or a political energy parasite, which I don't think he is, you would have a hard time arguing that he isn't anything but an S tier political grifter.
You're a fake and a fraud.
Cenk Uygur. Now, I have admitted in the past that yes, I used to watch the Young Turks back when I was trying to absorb a broad spectrum of ideas. I was 19 at the time, and I knew that I didn't know anything, so I was open to hearing what everyone had to say. He was all about money out of politics. That message really resonated with me, even through the milieu of progressive politics that was starting to gain a lot of momentum back then. I wasn't really sure about all that, but the money out of politics stuff, anti-corruption, I could get behind that. Now my favourite Cenk Uygur or Young Turk moment in general now is someone made a really good edit of their live reaction to the 2016 election. It is just spectacular.
Now she's losing Pennsylvania, and it's 98% reporting, and he's got a 0.8% lead. Oh. So John, go ahead.
Updates?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania was called for Donald Trump.
It's over. Okay. So there you go.
If this was 10 years ago, I think maybe Cenk would be B tier, a solid B tier, but I think he's maybe lost a lot of relevance within that time. I could be wrong. I could just be trapped in my own echo chamber because I don't care or look to see what the Young Turks are doing. And as well, many of the original panelists, they've all moved on, not through trying to level up. They have, they've fallen out with the Young Turks, and then they had to go on their own ventures. So I think maybe C tier, high C tier. How about let's add insult to injury. Let's put Cenk just above Jordan Peterson. And if you are wondering, is it better to be ranked higher or lower on this list? Well, I'll let you be the judge. Dave Rubin, now one of the first Young Turk defectors. We have Dave Rubin and Jimmy Dore as well. Now, I used to think Dave Rubin was quite cool back in the day. He had this interview show, brought people on, he talked about the progressive left all the time. But then when I saw him monologuing, or when he himself was being interviewed, you just realise this guy is not smart. And this is coming from someone who's not that smart himself. I can see Dave Rubin and say, not smart. He has that label. All he tended to do was just frame his lifestyle into projecting libertarian slop, trying to make it right-wing, and it was just quite sad to see. He is probably the commentator I am most ashamed of listening to, but I mean, we've all followed people, listened to people we no longer care for. And is there anyone that you were ashamed to admit you listened to? I mean, don't worry, I won't laugh, and I'm sure everyone in the comments will not laugh at you either, but it's a sign of strength to admit that we were once wrong, as we were led astray. Because in time, if you're chasing the sun, then eventually you will find yourself on the right path once again. Did we even rank Dave Rubin? Did I even say that yet? Let's just put him in D tier. Jimmy Dore, similar situation. You know, he used to be from the Young Turks, and he didn't leave the Young Turks because he was no longer left-wing. He tried to leave to kind of format a left-wing ideology, to reshape it from its more chaotic and progressive elements. While Rubin, on the other hand, as we said, he would just try to project his lifestyle into conservatism, which I think is probably more dangerous than what Jimmy Dore's doing. But I don't really know that much about Jimmy, but the clips I have seen, he does seem to be calling out the left when it's needed, rather than just defending, you know, his team whenever it needs defending. Which to me think he is not above admitting he's wrong, admitting his side is wrong, and able to grow as a person. There was even that rumoured interview with him and Nick Fuentes, but sadly that never really came to light. Not really sure why though. And there was that moment when he spat on Alex Jones. That was not cool.
We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass! We talk about that all the time! We talk about that all the time! Shit! What do you think, the lizard people are in charge? No. Is that what you think?
Hey, you're pissed. We're kicking your ass.
Is that what you think?
You're the anti-liberal and you're pissed.
Bullshit!
We're being nice here.
You know what I care about? I care about the American people.
Good. You're the one flipping out. Anybody hurt? I'm being nice. I'm not right.
Everybody get the fuck off my stage! Get the fuck off my stage!
I was considering C tier for Jimmy, hence spitting on Alex Jones maybe puts him down, but I think C tier for Jimmy Dore. Right, moving on, Nick Fuentes. So Nick, love him or hate him, the political zeitgeist that we are in, he is, or at least close to the centre of it. I mean, Nick's funny, his takes are generally correct, and whatever you have to say against him personally, you know, you have to admit that he has managed to create this monumental movement while being, you know, removed from platforms, which as of I think today, he's actually back on YouTube, which is quite interesting. He's been debanked, he's been investigated by the feds, there's been assassination attempts, he's been put on a no-fly list. He's managed to overcome all of these things while still maintaining momentum. He's managed to kind of transmute all these things into his own gain. And so again, love him or hate him, it's going to be hard to deny this. Nick Fuentes is an S tier political grifter. Joe Rogan, is it me? Or is Joe Rogan like the smartest man in the world? Alright, so while Joe Rogan isn't, you know, outwardly a, you know, political figure involved in politics, his opinions, the guests he brings on, his platform is a vessel for political growth and insight to the audience that listens to his show. And it's a hugely massive show. If you're the type of person who tunes into his podcast, whoever the guest happens to be, you will, over time, be influenced by him and the type of guests that he has on. I did see this meme a while ago where Joe Rogan is the Grug Wojak, and he brings on these high IQ white coats to come in to just explain complicated ideas. Now, while Joe Rogan himself isn't an academic or claim to be an expert in many of the political and philosophical things that he discusses on his show, he has the ability to, again, this is a key theme, think critically, get perspective, and change his mind over time, which is very, very important. I'm thinking a solid B tier for Mr. Joe Rogan. Sam Hyde. I'm a big fan of Sam Hyde. Been a fan for years, and I still like what Sam Hyde does. And now with Sam Hyde's new Sam Hyde show, a lot of which is more of a way for him to formally talk about the news and project his ideological ideas to an audience. Because years ago, his takes were sort of sprinkled across Hyde Awards and, you know, things like that across the media that he would create. But now we have and actually explicit and well thought out monologues from himself directly, unfiltered. Well, maybe a little bit filtered. Only a handful of episodes of these have come out, but in each of them, dozens of clips are shared, dozens of clips are discussed, people are interested to see what he has to say. And I think if he sustains this sort of momentum, then he could be an easy A tier, but we are kind of in the early days of Sam Hyde's true political grift. So for now, I think he should be B tier. Tommy Robinson, I'm a bit conflicted on this. Again, one of my earlier videos goes into a good amount of detail on Tommy. On one hand, he is a pivotal figure in helping expose the Islamic grooming gangs that were rife across the UK. And he is able to use his clout to essentially summon 1 million people to the streets of London to rally against the radical left-wing government we have. So his impact, his influence is undeniable. But on the other hand, I do think he is controlled opposition in a way. While he can, summon these impressive crowds out of a drop of a hat, the way he channels this political energy, this raw, vitalist energy, it's just channeled into the wrong direction. It's channeled into a more, tepid right wing that the establishment actually doesn't mind. I think looking back at his career, because he has been on the scene for a very, very long time, I think he has earned himself an A tier standing as a political grift. I was thinking B tier, but I need to give credit where it's due. But let me tell you, I'm not that happy about placing him this high. So Tommy Robinson is an A tier political grifter. Vaush, let's just stick him in D tier. He is, I don't even want to waste my breath on this. He is lowest of the low on this list. You need to change my mind if that isn't the case. He is just kind of like toxic waste. In World of Warcraft, there's these enemies that are just these amorphous blobs of ooze. That's kind of what comes to mind when I think of Vaush. Tim Pool, now I have at times made fun of Tim Pool. I think he kind of lacks the ability to be properly nuanced, and listening to him for insight to what's actually going on in the real world, you might as well just listen to Galaxy News Radio. That being said, he does have the most, is it the most? Or one of the most, could be the most actually, successful political YouTube channels out there, which is impressive, but bearing in mind, a lot of his competition has been banned off the platform. I would like to place him in C tier just because of I don't know why I don't really like him that much. He's not done anything to me. There's something about it, and I trust my instincts here. But again, credit where it's due. I think purely down to his, he has got quite high status in the political grifter sphere. I think it's safe to put him in B tier for now. Keith Woods. Now Keith Woods has been doing some serious moves over the last few years. From just a chud with a YouTube channel, he has been able to grow into one of X's most influential people. He's written a best-selling book about nationalism, which I've not read, but I heard it's quite good. And he's being involved on the ground level of Irish national politics now. He's actually getting involved rather than just blackpilling people online. And I've seen him travel to kind of these more, international nationalist groups, if that makes sense. Flying to Portugal, flying to Poland, being involved in their nationalist movements as a figure of support. I think people like Keith are integral to, our movement. He has the ability to communicate ideas very well. He's very optical in his presentation. And I feel that he embodies the sort of intellectual side of our movement, which is very important and missing in many ways. And I do think we can get stuck in the weeds through ideological purity, which this sort of, our circles or right-wing circles can get stuck in. But I think he is taking a step outside of online politics to get into the real sphere. And I commend him from doing so. So I think his momentum, his trajectory, I think he fits within a very clear and cut A tier. And I think if he's able to carry this momentum and be more of a prominent figure, I think we might be looking at another S tier political grifter. Keith Woods, very impressive stuff. And let's move on to Tucker Carlson. So Tucker's an interesting one because I do like him in many ways, but I'm not going to be fooled. I know he is kind of like an establishment CIA asset, and yes, he has pushed the Overton window about white identity quite strongly in the past few years, but he's been on the scene for more than 20 years. Why is he only mentioning this now? He wouldn't be grifting popular right-wing political trends, would he? and he's calling out Israeli influence. Now, was he doing that back in 2015? Maybe he's just trying to go where his viewers are going, or trying to, where's the wind blowing with all this sort of stuff. But to me, it doesn't really feel that genuine. And now with his recent fumble by claiming he didn't know his dad was in the CIA, I even knew that, when looking into Tucker Carlson years ago, there's just too many red flags. And I think his book, The Ship of Fools, it's not a based rallying cry for the imminent based revolution. It was a plea to the establishment, which he is a part of, to say that unless the establishment throws the masses a bone with some base talking points, things might become a bit more kinetic when they go unlistened to for, a few more years. Tucker's a strange one. I think B tier is a sensible one for Tucker Carlson. And I think in time, actually, I think he's going to slip down that list. And lastly, Asmongold. Asmongold, you say? Well, he's not a political commentator. He's just some degenerate who lives in filth and plays games. Now that might be true, and it is true, but he does hit out with his own political takes a lot of the time, and he does commentate and react to many, many political videos. And to me, that is the recipe for being a political grifter. And then you look at the size of his channel, he is making bank out of this political content he's making. But where would we rank Asmongold? I do think he does have a good soul. He does have a sort of level of intelligence where I think he can take a step back to try understand alternate perspectives. I certainly think he isn't super entrenched and aware of, deep ideological understandings. And he does kind of give off heavy fence-sitting vibes. But I do think he has a lot more common sense than a lot of these mainstream political commentators. And I think he is able to grasp some of the nuances of topics that he might not know much about. More so than Tim Pool. I mean, how do you watch your news these days? Do you just sit and watch the news like some boomer? Or do you watch Asmongold reacting to the news? That's the future. And this is why Asmongold is a B tier political grifter. When I'm looking through this list, it doesn't really seem to be making much sense to me. So if we do a part 2, we might do a bit of a reshuffle, but I think this is a pretty good outline so far for us to kind of, a foundation to lift off from. We might also need to add in some tiers. We might add an ooze tier for people like Vaush. But let me know down below what you think, and do the thing the algorithm likes. Let me know if there's anyone you want to reshuffle in the list. Let me know if there's anyone you want to see in a sequel to this video potentially. And till next time.